What is up, soccer citizens? Danny Brams here, welcoming you to another preview episode with Charlotte FC. Getting ready to go at the weekend, and we're here. I thought I'd bring it all the way to Hotfly Brewing. We're here on the rooftop of Hotfly Brewing, right in the shadow of Bank of America Stadium, where all the action is going to happen this weekend. Cannot wait to finally have Charlotte FC back at the Fortress. Rough road trip. We're going to talk about it all, but the club is home. There's a 4-game homestand to go here before the World Cup break, and we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about all of it with Lori Lindsey from Apple TV. Welcome, Lori. She's going to be calling the game. She'll be in the booth for Apple TV, calling Charlotte against Cincinnati this weekend. The real Queen City Derby, as we like to call it. U.S. Women's National Team midfielder, 2011 World Cup veteran, greatest soccer player in the history of the University of Virginia. Lori, am I missing anything? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Soccer City.
No, that's amazing. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you making your debut. First timer here. We've had many of your colleagues, a lot of play-by-play announcers, a lot of analysts, a lot of studio hosts, and now it's your turn. So we can't wait, and you're going to be in the booth. I don't know how many Charlotte games you've had the pleasure of calling in your career, but we're excited to have you for this one. And I want to know, Lori, can you just do me a quick favor and just tell me what's wrong with Charlotte FC?
That's a good question. I mean, it's just been a bit of a... Actually, the last time I was on their call, though, was against New York City, where you all won. So here we go. But also the Wednesday after that game, I was New York City versus FC Cincinnati, and FC Cincinnati ended up tying them 4-4. So it's all to play for on Saturday night. But I would just say, listen, quality all around. I would just think when you look back at some of the goals and the moments, I feel like this team is disappointed with how they're defending, maybe generally, but then also defending in their own 18-yard box. Just a little bit too loose in that regard. And it'll be interesting though, because there's still quite a bit of talent.
Now, Lori, you're acting like we gave up 11 goals in 4 matches or something here. What are you talking about with the defending? Like, what can we do to improve? We've lost our, your fellow national player compatriot Tim Ream on the. He's gearing up for the World Cup. Hopefully, he's been out for a couple matches. Hopefully, the word is if he trains tomorrow, he will play on Saturday. So we're hoping he's expected to train. We will know for certain, I believe, tomorrow if he's going to play on Saturday or not. But Ream aside, I think Privet's done a pretty good job filling in for Ream. But you're 100% right that the Charlotte defense has been very leaky. How do we fix it?
Yeah, I mean, more compact, really. But then also at this point in time, it's just about, like when I talk about box defending, it's just got to be a bit of like a pride. You've got to take it and be willing to win your own battles, right? Like latch onto a player as soon as it gets into the 18-yard box. Don't allow players to be free. Keep checking over your shoulders, understanding where free, and communication, right? So, I mean, I think that is the tough part when you lose a player like Ream, is the communication, leadership on the back line. But I agree with you with Privet stepping in and doing a really good job. But yeah, at some point in time, it's just about being hard-nosed and compact and not allowing teams to be able to stop it before it even gets into the 18-yard box, right? Put in tackles, make sure that everyone's communicating. You can't let players get free, because this also is a very good at counter-attacking team or quick attacks. Right. So it's like if you're going to drop back, then you can spring attacks that way. If you're going to step up and press a little bit higher, great. Then deny any balls in behind. But it's got to be as a group, and it's got to be about hard nose and like winning your own individual battle as well. Yeah,
we've got Cincinnati coming in, and I'm bringing up a little. I call this the Eastern Conference Charlotte-Cincinnati match at a glance graphic here. We've got the table. We've got Charlotte's upcoming fixtures. We've got a little bit of like who's who on each side, who's playing well, who's got the best match ratings. So there's a little bit of something for everyone here on this graphic. Cincinnati probably is a team that would like to see themselves a little higher up in the table, or based on the evidence of the last couple of years when they've competing for supporter shields and earning CONCACAF Champions Cup spots, and they brought in Evander, who was great last year and continues to be pretty good this year. He's still their top-rated player. But I will venture to say that much like Charlotte, Cincinnati is probably can consider their first 11 matches a disappointment from where they hoped to be and would have expected to be. We find two teams that probably planned to be fighting for maybe third or fourth, all of a sudden fighting for 6th or 7th here. Again, it's early. We're not necessarily table watching. We're just taking a glance. I'm not trying to say this is a playoff chase, anything. We got a lot of room to go in the season. But you can see just from looking at this, it's an important match for both sides.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I would just say, it's an interesting one, too, just in the fact of where both of these teams are. Obviously, you mentioned Charlotte and the defensive woes, but also the last 4 games, all competitions, have been losses, right? So I think that's always interesting when you have a team like Cincinnati who's never won in Charlotte, but it's coming off of a bit more of momentum, right? They tie New York City, they beat the Red Bulls, and then beat Chicago, excuse me. And so you have a team that's starting to build momentum, even though they had a very inconsistent, uncharacteristic start to the season, I would say, after, to your point, the last couple of years being at the top of the table, really. But I think that's always a little bit of a dangerous position to be in, even though they're only one spot ahead of you all, is how Charlotte start this game, being at home, knowing that they need to get points after a long stretch of away games, and then Cincinnati coming in with a little bit more joy, but at the same time, we know it's difficult to play in Charlotte. So this one is enticing in that regard, because I do think and agree with you that the inconsistency of both of these teams has just been like, okay, what's the deal? Plus defensive woes, because you can't really not say that about Cincinnati either. I mean, they haven't been able to have a consistent back three. Celentano's been very good to at least help them keep them in games. But yeah, it's going to be interesting who really can take advantage defensively and shows up. And this kind of goes back to what we were saying: hard-nosed, pride in terms of don't get beat, don't concede goals, and big players have to show up. We've seen that with Evander and Pep Biel as well. Yeah, no, we love when we have an expert on here, Lori, because you're able to educate our vast, sprawling audience. And Jorge Torres makes a great comment here in the live chat. Thanks for everyone who's watching live, and thanks for everyone who's watching it back later, not live. We welcome you all. But Jorge says, is that right? Has Cincy only tied or lost in Charlotte? They've never won in Charlotte? What's your research telling you? I always get things wrong. I'm pretty sure that's the case. They have not actually won in Charlotte.
I love it. Well, I think that probably goes back to the whole thing of how, like, Cincinnati tries to call themselves the Queen City, and Charlotte is actually the Queen City. So I don't know why Cincinnati's trying to steal our nickname, but they come here and they just cringe and die of embarrassment with the whole nickname thing, and they can't even equal their best ability to play. But a couple of things you mentioned there in that analysis that jump out at me were quick start, fast start. I'm thinking of the game against New England, where Charlotte really came out on the road and dominated in the first 20 minutes in a way that I don't normally see from Charlotte, especially on the road, and I was really encouraged by that. Now, unfortunately, that match ended up resulted in a loss because they couldn't really get anything out of that dominance early, and then some positive play in the second half also all went south. And the other thing you said, Lori, was big players need to step up. You mentioned Pep Biel. You mentioned Evander. Obviously, the biggest of the big players when it comes to Charlotte FC right now, for the time being, is Wilf Zaha. And I just have to get some of your perspective, because this is something that I took a strong tack on an episode we did earlier this week, sort of recapping the New England game. I was really disappointed to see yet again Wilfried Zaha, sort of making it all about himself and delaying a game that we had actually been winning the flow of, with just refusing to accept a referee's decision, refusing to move on, getting himself a yellow card for dissent here, and picking fights with the other players. This is a guy who's trying to maybe re-sign here, maybe not. He likes to. He's the king of the vague post and the social media. What's he talking about there thing? But he's clearly, not even unquestionably, the most talismanic, skilled player on the team, and certainly a key to our offense. Now, you mentioned the 4-game losing streak, and you mentioned. And then the win before that, the game you called, let's say up against New York City, and then we lost the game before that at home against Nashville. That New York City game was the only game in all these games in this streak that we didn't have Wilfried Zaha, the one that we won, out of 4 losses in 5 matches.
No, he was in that game. He was in that game.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was suspended, but he earned himself suspension. Excuse me. Sorry, but he earned himself suspension for the spoke there. But the point is, this guy is tough. For me as a fan, I don't speak for every fan, but when I see stuff like this and I'm like, let's go, we're trying to get a road win, and I'm just wondering, like, what is it for someone who played the game? I think there's certainly something to be said for he's passionate, he wants to win. What's your perspective on the whole thing, and a player like that who's just so, just pulls you in both directions, I guess is the best way to say it.
I mean, listen, he has personality. He's excellent, right? And that makes sense because he's a goal scorer. He has been a goal scorer his entire life. But you know, I feel like that is a team thing in terms of how they get him to, okay, listen, in these specific moments, right? Dean Smith would need to be pulling him aside, just like, okay, in these moments, we need you to be turned on and not trying to delay when we're trying to win a game, right? Or get some sort of result out of that. And I feel like that needs to be addressed within the team. But in terms of talent, my goodness, yes. And actually, I feel like, you know, it's going to be interesting to exactly see where he floats around this game, because obviously we know that Cincinnati plays a 3-back, and that's no surprise, right? So it's going to be congested in the midfield. But I personally like when Zaha floats into the midfield. I feel like if he can get on the ball at times, especially if you think back to that New York City game, when he just stays out a little bit wider, sometimes they find him, sometimes not. That's when I feel like, okay, are they getting and using him to the best of his ability? Second half, though, he drifted more into the midfield, actually played primarily central, and then helped start the goal, right? And so
that's true. Yeah.
And so I say all of that because I feel like this is a guy that needs to be engaged, he needs to be on the ball, linking up. And if there's any chances where he's not seeing that, then that's when, you know, he starts to float or be disengaged. So I do think utilizing him and getting him a little bit, even if he's dropping centrally and a little bit deeper to get on the ball, and then Pep Biel can make the runs, if it's Sokomati up top, right, to have a little bit more verticality. But I do think getting him more involved consistently will help all of this too, right? And that's partially on him as well, to, like, with the talent that he is to say, I'm going to make my mark. I'm not going to float in and out of this game.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue for me as a fan, is this, that if I see a guy who, you know, sort of gets caught up in the moment and can't leave the ref alone once, I get it. I get you're a passionate player and something might get the best of you. When I start to see it week in and week out, myself, I'm a parent, all right? I raised a daughter till 16 years old, right? So I've seen my share of outbursts and fits that have no reasonable explanation. I know this thing, and I deal with that in my personal life. I don't need to deal with that in my fandom when I'm trying to watch a soccer game. So sorry to compare you to a teen girl, Wilf, but that's just kind of the way it's gone for me as a fan watching. But I agree with you that he is super important. Lori, I want to take a quick moment to shout out one of our commenters, Jonathan Van Gelder, who says, awesome guest, some of the best calls around. He loves your work, Jonathan. Jorge again comments and says, you must be the good luck charm since you called the New York game and we won. I messed up my whole Zaha didn't play in that game thing because I'm a moron. Always one of the features, not bugs, of this show is that we're always going to get a few facts wrong, and it's just up to the audience to figure out which ones are wrong. Yeah, which ones are wrong.
Thank you for all these nice compliments. So this is great to be on. So
yeah, well, hey, the Lori Lindsey fandom is real, and I think it goes into, you know, sort of the next thing I want to talk about, which is just we want to go beat Cincinnati. We know we have to have a better defensive effort. We need to go score some goals, and I can't wait to be at the stadium, have a great time, and then come back and listen to all your goal calls on the instant replays, Lori, of all of Charlotte FC's goals. But if you have a few, you know, while we're here, I'd love to talk to you because we're just weeks away from a World Cup here in North America. It's going to be absolutely amazing. You have represented your country at the World Cup 2011, and we've got a guy on Charlotte who we're hoping is going to be in the U.S. men's team, representing for Charlotte, Tim Ream, like we've spoken earlier. Yeah. I would love to hear from you just about what it was like for you. Tell some stories about repping the jersey, the red, white, and blue, and what we can expect. I don't need you to go in and break down the what the U.S. men's team is going to do, wins and losses wise, but I just want to get some vibes from you about what we can sort of hope for in a best case scenario with this upcoming World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, it is the coolest thing. I mean, it's the biggest sporting event in the world, but also it is, I mean, when you think of, like, obviously in America, we love the Olympics, we get excited about that, but when you think of soccer, I mean, this is the pinnacle of the sport, and to be able to have, and a lot of us, depending on the age, to be able to have two on home soil is just outrageous and amazingly cool. So, especially where the game has grown since '94. So, yes, that alone, fingers crossed for Tim Ream. I hope so, because it's such an honor. For me, playing in the 2011 World Cup in Germany, it was essentially the tournament that put women's soccer on the map consistently. Because before then, I mean, obviously '99 was a huge success, but in the 2004 '99, the 2004 Olympics, we had all these moments that were just outstanding, but it was like ebbs and flows all along. You would get excited about the tournament and the Olympics, like World Cup Olympics, and then there'd be a drop. And 2011 was basically the tournament, Women's World Cup, that was heard around the world, because, especially here in the U.S. too, because it was ESPN had the rights, the NBA playoffs had just finished, Major League Baseball had gone on strike, and so everybody was tuning in. And we were almost the first U.S. team to be out as early as the quarterfinals until Megan Rapinoe sends that looping ball in, cross into Abby Wambach's head, and then we end up beating Brazil in penalty kicks, and then going on to the semifinal and then final, and then losing to Japan. But I say all of that because there is nothing that I can compare it to. It is the run it really is like, let's go boys for our U.S. men's national team, because despite everything that has happened before, it is like come together at the exact right time. You need some luck, you need some momentum, and much like we always talk about in these games, right? Building momentum early in the season, same as a tournament. It's like get the first win or get a result in that first game and just build some confidence, because it is literally one game at a time, and it's not like you have to like build all these points, right? One game, go for it. Here we go, and I feel like the more that we can get excited behind this team and they feel that is massive on home soil. So yeah, it's I'm hoping that this could be hugely special for these guys, and despite all of the commentary that's been around for several years, or maybe since the last World Cup, and
it'll continue. There's always going to be the commentary, right? But we just hope for some good results.
Yeah. But it's and as fans, like, here we go. It is like I'm calling games, obviously, but like I'm going to be a fan during the tournament too, because there's nothing like it. If you can go to games live, it's amazing.
Yeah, terrific. Jorge Torres, he's going to be our commenting MVP of the episode. Thank you very much, Jorge, for your contributions. He says favorite memory. Do you have a favorite memory from either on or off the pitch of Germany?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. So there's typically, depending on like kind of the trajectory of the World Cup and how things go, you can kind of pre-plan how you're going to rotate players throughout, right, to keep everybody fresh. And that changes a little bit because there's a lot more time between games now, so you can have full recovery essentially. But it is true, like as you go on, the minutes, the grind of a tournament, still all of that collection still creates a toll towards the end of the tournament. So I say all of that because in that Brazil game that I was just referencing in the quarterfinals, I was actually, me and Becky Sauerbrunn was just going at halftime. Well, Rachel Bueller, one of our center backs, gets a red card in the first half. So we go down to 10 players, and we're playing the majority of this game. So me and Becky Sauerbrunn have been like warming up for like, at this point in time, because we're going into double overtime, we've been warming up for like over 90 minutes, it feels like, and close to it in general. And the sideboards are flipping constantly, right? And Becky and I are, at this point in time, we're down 2-1 because Brazil scored in the first period of extra time. So I think it was like 2-1 before Abby scores the tying goal. And we're like, at this point in time, we're exhausted emotionally. We're already flipping out. And Becky and I are like, we're losing this game. We're just losing this game. And then the sideboards flip. And all of a sudden, like all around the stadium, I don't even know what the brand was, but it just said believe. And then Becky and I, it's like believe all across the side. And Becky and I look at each other and we're like, yes, we're winning this. And I don't know if I can cuss out here, but we're winning this, motherfucker. And then literally 10 minutes later, Abby scores, right? We're all piling on her in the corner flag.
Yes.
And then, like I said,
you manifested it. The sideboards manifested it, and you guys received the message and channeled it.
And I think Ian Dark and Julie Foudy were on that call, and it was in Dresden. They're like, drama in Dresden! And everyone's so like, honestly, that's the game. And then from then on, and like it was terrible to lose in the final against Japan, but they basically they donated all their winnings to the tsunami that they had, and like there's just so much.
It's tough to argue. It's tough to argue with donating
between our teams and stuff. But that moment is like so many. So there's a few. I could go on about some different funny moments. But that was one of my favorites. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I think so many people, if they think about that World Cup specifically, that's going to be their favorite memory as fans. Yeah. And it's nice to know that you yourself, that's your guys. The players had their own like personal spin on that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
As commenter K Dog says, cussing is fucking encouraged on this show, so you got nothing to worry about. You can always do that.
I really want to. So.
You can feel good about that. Lori, we're so excited to have you in Charlotte to call the game this weekend. Cannot wait. It kicks off at 7:30 on Apple TV if you're watching. We pre-party here at Hot Fly. If you can get here, I don't know if they'll let you out leave the stadium. We're literally 2 blocks down from the stadium. If you want to pop down here for a pre-game pop, Lori, we'll be here. So. Yeah, come on down.
Okay, but are we going to see you by chance or afterwards maybe? We'll have to figure this out because
This is the pre and post game spot. Hot Fly Brewing. It's the best IPAs and a pretty good lager, pretty good Mexican lager here I'm drinking tonight. So they got it all. Or actually, sorry, this is a Czech lager. Forgive me, I got wrong continent there, but.
Nice.
I've been all over the place. I've been wrong on everything, but thankfully you have been right on point for this episode, Lori. So much so. So let's recap real quick. Let's bring it back to Charlotte and Cincy. Yep. We need communication and toughness on defense, I think, is the two things.
Say communication, because I would say the biggest thing is
compactness, yes.
Because the two things that I think when you're looking at this Cincinnati team, which is much like Charlotte, has loads of talent, but I would say you have to limit the impact of Dinke and Evander, obviously. And Evander is going to float, so the more you compact and then don't give them any space, the better.
Mm-hmm. And then let the big names take care of it on the offensive end. Compactness, superstars. That's our little Texas two-step to victory.
For every game.
yeah, exactly. Make sure. Hey, tell your producer to put that graphic together for sure. No doubt.
We're bringing in our buddies for these keys.
Yeah,
get them on the,
I love
on the broadcast.
Feel free if you need to, if the spirit moves you, to shout out Soccer City when you're on the cast tonight, that night for sure. On Saturday, we can't wait. And if you don't mind sending us out, Lori, our catchphrase here is it's Charlotte FC. It's for the crown, baby. But you got to throw that baby at the end.
Okay, hold on. I'm putting it in my notes here so I know exactly what's going on.
Charlotte FC. It's for the crown, baby.
It's Charlotte FC. It's for the crown, baby.
Yep.
Is that right? Is that kind of right?
All right, give me a sign off. Now give it me with as much enthusiasm as you can muster, and we'll take this bitch out of here.
Okay. Wait, hold on. So it's Charlotte FC. It's for the crown. Okay, got it. Charlotte FC. It's fucking for the crown, baby.